I've completed business plans for business owners looking to borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars up to millions of dollars from some of the big four banks. And one thing we put together in the business plans is what they call SWOT analysis. In this video, we're going to explain what SWOT analysis is and what it is not, and how to best use it. So stay tuned. So what is SWOT analysis? Well, first we look at what it's not. It's not a long list of dot points which you never get to. It is, though, a decision-making tool. And if you don't make decisions based on that tool, then there's no point of the entire exercise. You're just wasting your time. However, if you do use it, it can have substantial advantages to you, your business, and your team. And obviously, that permeates through other areas of your life, including your family, your network, and your ability to impact more people's lives. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of getting the internal and the external aspect wrong. So, as we go through the video, we're going to explain what those two are and what the difference is. SWOT is an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And ultimately, we need to differentiate what is internal and what is external. As an example, strengths or weaknesses are internal within the organization, whereas opportunities and threats are external to the organization. These are things that we don't necessarily control. However, we can leverage and we can mitigate. So what are some examples of SWOT? Well, first we'll look at the strength. And some of these, as an example, might be that you've got skilled team and you've got strong leadership to guide that team. That's very, very important, because in difficult situations, you're going to need to be able to rely on that team and the leadership to be able to make strong and difficult decisions to move the whole organization forward. Another example is you are niche. You've got this product that the market needs, but this product is not readily available out there. So therefore, you've got a moat, you've got a strong position for clients to demand that product and for you to charge an amount that will compensate you for all the effort, and at the same time have a decent margin in there to keep you afloat and to keep the business growing. Another example is that you might have authority. That is, you are well known in the industry, you are well known in the profession, or you are well known for the product that you actually provide to the market. Again, because that product provides results. These are all strengths that you can leverage to grow your organization. When we move on to weaknesses, one that I see quite often with business owners is they're owner dependent, which means their business does not exist without the owner. We're talking about clients who have turnover in the hundreds of thousands and even millions. This is because they don't have an exit strategy and they don't have a strong team. The owner is the person who ultimately has final say in the vast majority of things. So they are the bottleneck in the organization. When you come to sell that business, it's going to be very, very hard, because if you remove the owner, effectively that business does not exist. Another one is lack of financial oversight. The business might be doing well in terms of turnover. However, the margins might be very, very tight and the profits might also be slim. So therefore, when you don't have visibility and you don't have a frequent reporting routine where you are, for example, reviewing your financials on a monthly basis, on a fortnightly basis, at the very, very minimum at a quarterly basis, you don't know where you're headed and you're not able to make informed strategic decisions. Now we'll move on to the opportunities, and these are external to our organization. As an example, here we have new technology that's coming out, say, by another technology provider. And so we can reach out to that technology provider to gain this technology and leverage it to grow our business. Another opportunity is, for example, strategic partnerships, where we find someone who might even be a competitor. For example, for a period of time, Apple has been using Samsung to produce some of their OLED screens. Again, that's a strategic partnership. So it's leveraging these different partnerships to help our organization to grow and to continue to provide services for our clients. We move on now and we look at the threats, and that might be something like rising interest rates that add cost pressures to our whole logistics and our ability to deliver results. This means that we either pass on this interest rate, this further expense, onto the customer or the client, or we might not be able to. So we need to determine what we are going to do, how we're going to manage this particular situation. Another one is talent shortfalls. For example, sometimes some professions might not have enough talent, and so they might look outside. Say, for example, they might offshore or they might outsource a particular talent that they need to be able to continue to provide that business. Or there are some other areas in the world that are well known for certain skills, and so the business reaches out to those areas in the world to obtain that skill set that's not available in the country that they are in. Another example is regulatory changes. When the government makes a decision, we need to understand how that is going to impact us. For example, superannuation from a very long time ago was 9%. Then it continued to go up 10, 11, 12%. So how are we going to manage this? How are we going to continue to compensate our team and retain talent? So these are all things that we need to navigate and we need to have front of our mind. Okay, so now we know what SWOT is and we know some examples of what SWOT does and how it applies. Okay, next we're going to look at what are the next steps. So for example, it's not just a matter of an exercise and you're listing all these various points. You should take the next step and look at, okay, what are the likelihood of these various points actually arising? Because if we don't do that, then we might just allocate all these resources to these various things and some of them might not even eventuate. So we've just wasted all these resources. Another one is we need to prioritize what's more important to the organization, what's least important to the organization, what is going to drive the organization forward, what's low hanging fruit, what's high hanging fruit, right? How can we achieve quick wins, okay? And the other items, we might project manage them and we might have them over a long period of time where we're working on them bit by bit. Another thing what we can do is we need to take action. It's not just about, okay, we've understood, this isn't theory, it's about actually taking action. Okay, so we've decided this is a project we're going to implement. We need to take the steps to make sure that this project is actually being completed. The project is being monitored. The results and where we are at, the stages, are being communicated to the leadership team, the directors who are ultimately responsible and in charge of the organization. We also need to look at leveraging strengths and opportunities. For example, if there is an opportunity out there, but we don't have the strength to be able to deliver on that opportunity, then it's not really something that's important. It's not something that is ultimately going to benefit us. So we need to look at our strengths. And if we don't have a particular strength, do we want to acquire this particular strength? So this is where we are looking at these various areas of SWOT and seeing how they can complement each other and ultimately allow the whole organization to grow and move forward and better serve our customers and our clients. The last one is to mitigate. Do we need insurance policies? How likely is a government change in policy, in regulation, going to affect our clients, going to affect our customers, going to affect our business? And so we need to plan ahead and say, okay, if this happens, how are we going to move forward? How are we going to lean forward? For example, hospitality industry, they couldn't have people come into the restaurants, and so they did takeaway. They did deliveries, right? So it's about flexing and being able to manage these situations. As always, if you benefited from this video, please hit the subscribe, like button. If you have any thoughts or any recommendations as to what video and what topic we should do next, please leave them in the comments and we will look to do those as soon as we possibly can. Thank you very much as always, and we'll see you on the next video.